Hello, I'm Ren X or Connor, and welcome back to the Enshrouding Building series, I guess. Today we actually wind up going into the Carpenter's house, which has a lot more unique sort of building structure compared to some of the other pieces. And it used so much shroud wood. I had to gather shroud wood probably about 3 or 4 times after, or during this video, not after. But it turned out pretty well, I think. It's definitely more unique compared to the other buildings, and it is primarily made of wood compared to the other buildings as well, which probably won't last for too long. I'm assuming there's going to be some changes there, but we'll see. I decided with this one, compared to the other ones I had done so far, I wanted to start off with a porch sort of situation going on here, because I like the idea of being able to work on the outside a lot, and that would add a lot of detail onto the inside, and I'd be able to figure out what I wanted to do. Here I went and got a whole bunch of shroud wood and came back. I figured I've already done the editing a few times on me gathering materials, and at this point it's just a lot of the same old. So I do actually wind up using all of this shroud wood and then having to go and get more shroud wood on top of what I've obtained there. So a little bit sad about that, but it's okay. One thing I do know is, like I said in the Alchemist Towers, I do have some OCD, so a lot of this stuff just irks the hell out of me, but at the same time, I really like how kind of one-sided this one wound up. And you'll see what I mean whenever I actually get into more of the building along the side here. This whole left side of the porch, I actually wound up changing a lot of that around because I wanted more space on the inside, which I could have done very easily, I'm going to be honest, if I just did it a different way. But it didn't need that big of a porch, I don't think, especially with how I was going to design it, so. And I didn't want it to be too wide or like too long, if that makes any sense, because those houses kind of only work if you have extra houses built on, at least in my opinion, because there are some that you do it the right way and it's kind of like a longhouse-ish looking sort of thing. But for this one, I wanted it to be more so a mixture of like tall and wide. So this one does actually wind up with a second floor on it. I do wind up getting there eventually after I figure out how I want this little side piece to be built here. I steal a lot of that area off on the left side of the porch there, building this room as well. And eventually, when I do place the carpenter down for the actual video, that will allow me to build a lot more nicer decorations. Which I look forward to, because a lot of these buildings have like very ramshackle items in their abode. I don't know why I built this little side room the way I did. And this whole like corner there that I put that window in, that one is actually majorly subject to change. I had to go harvest more wood. I'm pretty sure on one of these teleports I actually had to go to the other camp that I had set up so I could get more wood for this build. Yeah, that whole corner right there, I do wind up changing, and I like how it changed, but I don't want to spoil how that wound up. I did have a reference on my other monitor for a Carpenter house, which I don't think is exactly what I was looking for. I think, yes, it was or is a house, But it wasn't exactly the Carpenter house I was thinking of at the time. But that's okay, because I do tie this back properly at the end. Because there is not only this build, not only the Carpenter house itself build, but I also build a thing around back of it, which also looked pretty alright, all things considered. It's not supposed to be like this crazy, whatever piece, but it was quite ramshackle, as is most of the things that I've built so far. Most likely, whenever I get to the harder areas and stuff, I will probably be moving a lot of my stuff around. I do like the idea of staying in like one major base, which is kind of what I've made here. But there's a lot. There's a lot to this game, and I don't really want to deconstruct everything I've built to change how it looks wood-wise and stuff. So I would probably rather go and build somewhere else and have it look nicer with more options to build, and just have this be like the original base. Because then, you know where you came from, right? It's like, well, originally everything looked like ass, but let me tell you, things changed. So that's just part of the go of it. As I've said in the Alchemist video, I set the daytime for an hour, so this is probably our one-time sleep that happens. Actually, no, that might be the second time sleep, because this, I think, took about an hour and 30 minutes or so just to get all of what I've done here finished. Not bad, though. I think a few of these pieces I might have decorated, but it is, that's just part of it. Sometimes you'll be building a little bit too much in certain areas, and other times you'll be lacking. Trying to get all my angles here figured out to make it seem like the nicest look. You see multiple times here I'm actually just nodding my head with my mouse, like I did do that in real life also. I'm like, yeah, that's right, that's correct, I did that right. Which is so funny to like, I didn't realize how much I actually do that, where I'm like moving my mouse, mimicking my head, but I guess it makes quite a lot of sense. Probably here in a second you're going to see me deconstruct this whole corner as well. Which is funny because I just put all of this work into building that corner. I love this little kind of like balcony thing here. The biggest downside I have, because everything's just made of blocks, there's not really any rounded, sort of pieces. If I could do a rounded piece there, that would be amazing. Like little windows that were rounded, that would be cool. I decided to get rid of the corner finally, because I know exactly what I was going to do. And I did say this was primarily wood, but at this point I'm like, you can't have a house like all the other houses have been made so far that doesn't have a little fireplace in it. So I put a little fireplace in it that kind of rocks its way up to the second floor and into the roof, which is a fun one to try and build, I'll tell you that much. These are also off. It's not symmetrical by a long mile, I'm going to tell you that much. Can't tell you how much of this irked me, but at the same time, it looked just right enough that I was okay with it. Seeing where this connects properly at. Making sure I have a little spot I can stand. I was trying not to block off the stone here as well with the flooring, because the heat needs a place to go. It can't just be sectioned off. That doesn't make any sense. some of those little random jerks of the mouse there are actually from me tabbing out and replying to messages off of Discord, or attempting to get a different picture to see how that is going to wind up looking for the house. So I think I wound up using 2 different references, which were okay, but they definitely are interesting. At some point here, I actually fall down the chimney, and I cried because I thought I was like super stuck for a little while, but it was the easiest fix of my entire life, and I don't know why I was like, fuck, I don't want to. What if I break something and everything's deconstructed, which is not how the building in this game works. There's just floating stuff randomly sometimes. I throw some supports on the outside of this to give it a little bit of texture, so it's not just a flat wall. That's one thing that is rough around fireplaces, is that they are not window accessible. So you have to make them, like, I don't know, a little bit more intriguing to the eye as you build stuff like that. I'm so happy that I finally started figuring out how to build in this game properly, because holy crap, I remember whenever I first played this game and I was having just hell trying to do that. Here I fell down the chimney and I was like, shit. Because I could easily, if I ducked, go through that, but it has the same issue that some other games have, where it's like, well, no, you're not allowed to duck under that. I can't remember what style. Maybe it's Skyrim? Skyrim, where it's like, no, we're not going to let you go through that, even though you ducked. Here I section off the side area where the fire is. That will be the bedroom for the carpenter, is that little side room there. And then I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to put at the top of the stairs. Maybe just like a nice little evening room or something, I don't know. But we already have a bit of a sunroom, which is what I made of the side area. I just put a whole bunch of windows in it because I thought it looked okay. I have hell trying to figure out how to do these little stair guards as well here, so I have to try and MacGyver around what's going on there, which I like the way that looks. It's not bad to my eyes, and so I think that's okay. The biggest downside of using this type of wood, though, is very clearly all those little nubs that peek out. That stuff kind of, it makes me so sad. I wish there was a thing I could just like chop that bit off. But sometimes it makes it look nice because there's little areas. There's a little Harry Potter under the stairs for anybody that, you know, maybe I'll put his animal down there or something. I'm not sure. I try and figure out a little bit more on the details for the front of the house, so I try and make it look not as crazy looking. This is one of the things where I'm like, I might have put too much detail on that left side compared to the middle section where everything else is going on, but at the same time, I think there's just a lot. There's a lot to look at this, so I won't like fault it too bad here. What do I wind up making? Is it already roof time? Oh my gosh. This is actually the longest part of the video, is me doing roof stuff, which is hilarious. I actually ground up a whole bunch of wood to get the tar, and then I wound up remembering that I was like, oh shit, I actually have areas that I have placed some of these little construction, or the crafting tables, the workbenches and stuff, and I was like, I should probably go check that. And then lo and behold, there was a solid 200 or 150 tar in there, which is quite nice, and most likely I'll have to add a little bit more crafting areas and stuff down there, just so that way I can get everything in one simple place. I'm going to put a lot of the Carpenter stuff over there as well, because I just don't want to deal with having to run all over the place. So I'll probably put one of his kilns in the under in, and then I'll put one at the back for the thing I built as well, which we'll get to that soon. I love how this trimmed. I dislike that I only put it on the front of the house. Because it almost, I don't know, it seemed like a, I'm trying to remember, like one of those townhouses that has that kind of trim along the outside. Like you can even think about it, it's a sky blue house, but it has a white trim that goes around the side and around the pillars and all that stuff like that for the front of it. It turned out okay. I don't like that I can't match the color of them with the roof pieces, but it's mainly just because I didn't use shroud wood roof, which I don't even think I can do as far as I'm aware, unless there's something later down the line with the Carpenter. Make a few more things. I make another few pieces of scaffolding because Lord knows I need it for the build that I'm doing right here. Then I start figuring out my guides and where my roof needs to be placed, which is quite important, especially for me on those guides, because I'm going to have it tiered, not much different than the alchemist house or his tower roof ended up, but it will make it look fairly unique on how it's portrayed in this. I think I do wind up getting even more shroud wood as well for a whole bunch of this as well. Just trying to figure out, thank God this is on 2 times, because, oh my lord, trying to figure out a whole bunch of this in. There we go. Figure out where my roof needs to go. I fall down off of this building so many times. I should have just edited out so many of my fuck-ups that I did while I was trying to not fall off. Trying to mimic exactly what that looked like on this side, which is a little bit rough because there's that little lip there that I needed to properly hit, which I do manage to get right there, which is very good. I'm really trying to figure out how this is going to look, so I had to finish that piece off so that way I could get to the next one, which is the small inner piece that goes over there. So I have to pick up all my scaffolding and begin to figure it out again. And that turned out okay. I just kind of finish a little bit of it off with the first person 1 by 1. Hopefully it turns out okay. And I try to set the wall on it here a little bit easier. Delete the guide so that way it's not being shown. That's one thing. I don't know what exactly. I guess I could put roof pieces to tide it over, so that way it doesn't show the top of the blocks poking through, but there wasn't really a whole lot I was going to do about that, if I'm honest. And that looks okay to my eyes. Just like little roof by roof, and then we start working on the big pieces after these ones. Oh yeah, I also tried to build some areas for me to stand. This is another reason why I had to wind up getting more shroud wood, because I just wanted to fill in this top and not have it be like exposed, I guess. I didn't want to have to and one thing I could have done with this, actually, now that I'm like watching back and thinking about it, is I could have done really cool support looking pieces, but I didn't do that. Which made me a little bit sad that I'm looking back now and I'm like, oh, you could have done like little supports and there would have been light coming in from the ceiling, but it's fine. I try to jump over to the other building and fail. Roofing in this game is the hardest part of building. No one can tell me otherwise. I tried to build from the other house. It does not work. It's like just off, just barely off. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll figure out what it looks like from the inside on this area, so that way I can build what it is supposed to look like on the opposite side. This one I wind up building too close to the other one, so it makes it weirdly envelop in it. So instead I take it one step to the side, which I think winds up looking a little bit nicer, because it will always have that little bit of an overhang that goes to those small areas. All in all, though, it's going pretty good so far. Right here, I probably could have just expanded, or not expanded, kind of squared this piece out before I even put the roof on, which is what I should have done, because then it would have been a little bit easier to transform it and make it look proper. Again, trying to use that guide in the background there, which I think I got it spot on. Having to destroy all of the roof that got placed inside of the chimney here. I wind up breaking a little bit more of that as well, so that way I can square out the chimney, because I think square chimneys look a little bit nicer. If not, you make them more of a, not necessarily like a square, but they're kind of rounded in a way. This is another reason I'm glad that I roofed off the, or like floored off this area, because that looks awful. That is pretty good. And then I wind up building a straight rooftop piece all along this. I originally was against the small slope that kind of divots in, but for a house of this size, I think it just fits that aesthetic that it needed like a little bit of bracing for it to be put onto the last one. This probably could have been placed a little bit taller, but I think it's okay where it's at, where it's not too overwhelming of the surrounding area. Right here I wind up needing more shroud wood pieces once more. And I go and I gather more shroud pieces. Drink plenty of water. There's so much water around. Make sure you're drinking water. Stay hydrated. It's getting hot out here. Oh yeah, I randomly found this mushroom, the Azura Rasula, and it looked kind of interesting to me. I wonder if you cook it, if it gives you a whole bunch more stamina. If that's the case, then one of the things that I looked at during this one, but I edited it out, was the farm bed for the farmer can make more of those. And if the case is that I can do more of those and they give me more stamina, then that's what I want. I did wind up using metal here on accident instead of the shroud wood that I had just found and made. One thing, and this is probably the only thing I'll change about this build, and it's the later building that I construct in this same video. I was trying to go for saw blades, but it doesn't seem like the metal pieces want to form into saw blades in this, and it might have been the angle I tried to do them at or something along those lines. But I guess that's one thing I need to look into, is figure out if I can't find pieces that will look like saw blades to me. Because obviously this is a carpenter's, and I wanted it to seem much like the kind of like a lumber mill from Skyrim-esque is what I was going for this. So hopefully, if there are pieces like that out there, that's something that I would like to create. I find out that this wall on the left is too close in, and I have to actually fix it because it is way too close in there. I'll wind up fixing this little roof piece as well, because it was a little bit too far as well, but that's just another one of those little pieces that you wind up having to fix. I don't know if that's like properly fixed. It's going to look a little bit strange compared to the other side, but sometimes the enemy of building things does wind up being the symmetrical nature that my brain desires. So I do wind up changing a lot of things around just for that, just for the appeal of making things look interesting. I accidentally took off another 2 pieces from that as well. See, there's the front of it. It looks pretty good in my opinion. I do like how that wound up looking on the front. Here I actually now have a few different pieces, including the metal and stuff, because I'm going to start working on the area that goes into the back. Well, first it's decoration time. We have to go through and figure out what we're putting on this, because obviously he deserves a door to his house. And a little seating area, which I was going to put in there originally, but I want like a little, and I actually didn't even keep that in. That's crazy. I did put 2 chairs and a small coffee table in there for basically like, you know, it's a recreation side room that happens, and enough light comes in from a lot of the windows that I had placed over there that I'm okay with that. And it looked pretty nice to me. Basically, because there's not really, and there, maybe I'm wrong here, but if I could make a little sunroom out the side, that might be the only thing I change about that area. Right here, we actually get into the lumber mill section that I was originally kind of excited to do, because the whole time I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about Riverwood and going in and seeing just that little mill that's right there, and I channeled a lot of what I liked about that into this. I'm just sad I couldn't get a saw going, and maybe that's one of the craftables. If there's a workbench that has a saw on it, 100% I'm putting it up here. Just for the aesthetics of it alone would be pretty dope to look at. But bonus brownie points if it moves, you know? That's the thing I love about some of these buildings, is actually having pieces that animate and having a lot more detail to them that goes on. Right here I actually tried to build a saw, but it doesn't want to work, it looked like, so I was like, fine, there's another way I can use this building, and it's mainly for wood storage purposes. So I just make it look like here's a few little logs that had been chopped up, and they're being held down. So this is where our storage of logs goes for the dude, which I kind of like how that turned out, in all honesty, because I was looking up how to do wood piles and stuff, and every video or whatever I found of it, I wasn't a big fan of, and this wound up giving me a little bit more kind of happiness for that rough, you know, ramshackle look. The feeling of it was very, I don't want to make like a creepy word here. I almost said delectable, which is such an off word when, you don't say that when you're building a wood pile, but having like that level of decorative responsibility on something is very cool, I guess. It just looks interesting to me because it seems like it fits, Like, oh, this is just a little wood pile and stuff. The only thing I wish, and again, this is just one of those sad things, is I wish I could clip some of those ends off, because that would look really cool. Or if there's an actual wood kind of pile-looking block, I would actually very much enjoy that. I put the flat roof on. I was going to go with another arched roof, but oh man, I just couldn't do that anymore. Here I did another skip for me getting more of these roof wood pieces on because I feel like I needed them for that. Wind up spotting some of those little ways that got a little bit too far out here. I really like how this edge turned out on the ends of this roof. It looks like it is supporting it properly. And maybe there was some stuff I could have done to make it look a little bit more sturdy. But it's mainly just to keep the rain off it. Keep them dry, having lumber, and making sure that it's still workable. Probably could have raised the wall up a little bit, but again, it's just one of those things that I don't realize until after I've already built something. I'm like, oh, this would have been a cool detail, or this would have been a fine, interesting piece to have included on this build. Which is interesting to say because I don't ever feel like I'm really I'm not like a building guy. I do like building. I enjoy the aspects of building. And a lot of what I build I feel is very simple because I think that as long as it's easy for me to do and I don't have to put that much more effort in and freak out because I'm like, oh, is this right? Is this correct? I just like how that looks more. I wind up putting a few torches around here. Oh, I didn't put the stuff in here just yet. Here it's pitch black. It was pitch black for me too whenever I had gotten upstairs. I was looking off in the distance to the red fog that's out. Okay, this is whenever I start putting more detail into it. So I did not skip it, which I'm quite pleased with. There's our second sleep, which means the first one was probably at the later half of the last episode for hours. I do a little bit of fine-tuning on this, which I didn't think I was ever going to use. I'm like, no, that's a little bit far off still. So I go first person and I put it a little bit into the floor because I feel like that looks a little bit more natural to it. Everybody gets an end table. And a little firefly. And you can see the light billowing from the underneath area, which makes me quite pleased. I like whenever stuff like that happens. It just looks really nice. Like in D&D, for example, I have little terrain pieces in real life that have flickering lights, and it just adds so much more to it because there is some sort of light going on. Here I throw some lights around the little Carpenter area, all the wood pieces. I was admiring the work there again. We're going to drop 2 times speed here because I go into the house and I look around and see what's going on in it. I actually fixed this torch as well because it looked like it was just dark enough that I wanted to fix it. Just right over top the dining area. Here's our little Harry Potter area underneath the stairs, our little side commons room, the upstairs. I'll figure out something to do with this little pathway, and then maybe some bookshelves and stuff. That would look kind of cool. Exit out the window. Love that front view. That front view, I think, came out very, very well. I get a wider angle on it. You can see my little shitty house on the left there. And the window, I love how it protrudes on the upper area for the left on there. I'm quite pleased that I decided I wanted less of the porch to wrap around the side and did a little bit more with that. All right, this is me calling it, I believe. So thank you for watching, listening, going about your daily life. I've been Ren, X my card to Dex, or Connor, and I'll see you in whatever is next. Take care.